Hello and welcome to 50 Fabulous Knits. My name is Pia. I am a Danish knitter currently living in Italy, and this channel is my happy place where I get to talk about all the knitting. I am so happy that you're joining me here today, and I really hope that you will like this episode. Today I am wearing my new vest that I knit kind of as a part of my ongoing knit along, which I will talk more about later. To me, a vest is an accessory. It's not a garment, because you don't wear a vest just on its own, right? I'm not sure if a vest counts, but I do love a vest, especially in the fall and the spring, so that I can make the t-shirt season last just a little bit longer by popping a vest over. I used my own pattern for the everyday vest, and I did have to do some modifications to make it work. I am using the leftover yarn from my family sweater. That is the Harrisville Designs Nightshades. A lovely, lovely, lovely yarn that I cannot get enough of it. And I'm thrilled that there was enough left over to make myself this vest. I did have to do some modifications. I did turn the pattern around, or the instructions around, so that I could knit it top down, because I wasn't sure exactly how much yarn I would have. It turned out I had plenty, but I was uncertain, so I thought if I start from up here and I knit all the ribbing, then I can just continue knitting until it has the right length. And I did, and I still have yarn left over, so yay for that. I also had to go down 1 or 2 sizes. I don't remember exactly, but the pattern calls for a lighter yarn than this, so I had to figure out how many stitches do I have on 10 centimeters. Then I measured myself. I added in the positive ease that I wanted. And then I just looked at the pattern, because with the measurements and the stitches per 10 centimeters, it's easy to figure out how many stitches do I need at the widest point, just around the splitting of the body, because you don't split for the sleeves on a vest. But anyway, here, the widest part of the vest. So I could just go through the pattern and see which size came closest to the number of stitches that I needed. It's not a very scientific way of doing it, but hey, it's working. I will say though, one thing, if you do modify patterns like that, substituting the yarn and getting a different gauge, you should be aware when you measure yourself of the amount of positive ease that you want. You should look at the design of the garment, because if the design is one with long, narrow sleeves, you're probably going to want more positive ease than if you have a deep raglan, or here you have no sleeves at all. I actually knit this with a little bit of negative ease, just to make sure that it fit me right and didn't have these flappings out under the arms. But I'm sure you all know this, but in case there's just one knitter out there who is uncertain how to substitute yarn in a pattern, well, I give you Pia's very highly unsophisticated way of doing it, but it works. And yes, I am loving my new vest. One of my favorite yarns combined with one of my favorite patterns. I mean, this is a staple in my wardrobe from now on for sure. The vest itself is very, very simple. There's absolutely nothing to it. It's just a rounded neckline, and then the sleeve holes are not very deep. I like my vests to be rather tight fitting, not too deep armholes. And yeah, very plain and simple. It does have, but I don't think that you'll be able to see that, but it does have a little bit of a twisted stitch going around the armholes before the ribbing. But it probably doesn't show in yarn as dark as this. But anyway, I finished my vest and I am loving it. Of course, I'm gonna link to the pattern for this vest and for everything else that I talk about in my show notes, which can be found in the description box below. I always forget to say that. I should probably start with that, right? But anyway, now I said it. I also finished a shawl because I do have this knit along going, the ACAL 2021, which is an accessory along where we knit all the lovelies, all the little things, the scarves, the shawls, hats, bags, mittens, socks, whatever you can think of. Now, living in the Northern Hemisphere, it's easy to get ideas for accessories appropriate for the season. We're going to be bundling up very soon. But if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, summer also calls for some accessories like super light and breezy shawls, little purses, beach bags, hair bands, ribbons, all that kind of stuff. Accessories are just a lot of fun to make. I'm going to put the details from the for the knit along in the show notes, but it is a very informal knit along with some great prizes coming up. But I knit a shawl. Here you go. For some reason, while I was knitting it, I kept referring to it as my Texas shawl. Which, I mean, there's no reason for that. That's just, yeah, that's just the name that it gave itself. So after knitting it, I decided that I should probably do something to make the name make sense. I'm sorry, I keep hitting my elbow on the table, but I don't have too much space here. I hope you will bear with me. What I did was I put in one of the ends a golden pom-pom, and then at the other end I put a golden star, the Lone Star. Now the name makes sense. Yay! And I actually think this is super cute instead of tassels or pom-poms, but of course it's totally optional. If someone has a more sophisticated taste than me, feel free to omit the star. But I am writing up the pattern for the shawl, including the Lone Star, and I'm gonna make a call for testers very soon, one of these following days. But yes, it is this very light and airy shawl. It is not huge. It's a shawl that... Okay, it's a very difficult shawl to put on, obviously. It's a shawl that you can easily use as just a scarf, if that's what you want. But you can, of course, also wrap it around your shoulders to keep you warm and toasty when you are in the Texas aircon. There you go, another reason for the name. I knitted out of the Drops Alpaca Silk, which is probably my favorite drops yarn. It is a wonderful yarn to work with. The brushed alpaca is so soft. It is so soft and it's so fluffy. And actually looks like a mohair, but it doesn't shed the way that some mohairs can do, and it's not itchy at all. You can wear this totally next to skin. It's a little heavier than your typical kit silk, but for this shawl, I think it is just perfect. It gives the amount of warmth that you want because it is alpaca without being a heavy shawl. So yeah, I am so happy for my Texas shawl, and I'm so happy that I somehow made the name make sense. It is knit in garter, ridges, stripes, and then some very simple slip stitch patterns. And if you have never tried mosaic knitting or slip stitch patterns before, this is probably a very good starting point because these patterns are really easy. There are no long floats and relatively short repeats. So this could be a good way into mosaic knitting if you're interested in trying your hands at that. But yeah, I'm gonna send out a call for testers. I'll do that on my website, fiftyfabulous.dk. There is just in the menu one one page that is called a test knit, where you can see what test knits I have going and how to sign up for them. I finished one more thing, but I shouldn't be too proud. I've been knitting on these forever and ever. My mohair socks from Inga from Knitting Traditions. She made this pattern based on how her grandmother taught her to knit a heel on a sock. And I have said this before, I'm sorry, I've shown them so many times, and each time I say the same thing. I'm not a fast sock knitter. Socks are just not my favorite thing to knit, but I love wearing the finished socks, so I should probably just get used to it. I really love this heel construction. That was what I was gonna say. You knit the stitches together here at the bottom of the heel, making it a very unique heel construction that I've never seen before. Now, usually when I knit a heel flattened gusset, it doesn't really fit my foot. It's like I'm creating too much fabric around my heel, but this one fits like a glove or a sock. It really fits my foot and it hugs my heel, and I am absolutely loving it. I just knit it out of some Drops Fable, which is really budget-friendly sock yarn. Yeah, it's a merino nylon blend, and it is sturdy, and it comes in all the grays and blacks and browns that I love so much. You would probably roll your eyes if you looked into my sock drawer, because everything is a variation of this color, more or less. But yeah, not a colorful person, especially not on my feet, because I can see my feet all the time. Now, if I have a lot of colors on a shawl or on a hat, a hat is good because I can't see the hat. But on my feet, I see those all the time. So my socks are gray, black, brown, as I will show you in my first work in progress, which is a pair of socks in a dark brown. I have no idea what this yarn is. It's something that I just had laying in my stash without, it didn't have a label on it. But I do think that it has some nylon content. It really feels like it has some nylon content. Actually a very nice yarn. I would like to find out what it is. It's has a little floof to it. I don't know if you can tell. When I hold it like this, you can actually see the pattern in them. I thought that would be almost impossible to show. These are socks from a Danish designer called Christina Birk, and they're called Birken socks. And I made a huge mistake because I decided I want them a little longer than what is in the pattern. In the pattern, you only have 1 centimeter here, and then you start the lace pattern again. But I thought, no, I want them a little longer, and I'm of course regretting that. I mean, for sure the designer thought about placing the pattern in the best possible way. But I am gonna love them anyway, I'm sure, because they're pretty, and I love the lace here. That is just so nice. They also came with a heel flattened gusset, but I decided to instead do my regular what do you call that? Short row heel. There you go. My short row heel that I just know will fit my foot perfectly. But yeah, really enjoying working on these ones, and I'm so happy that, of course, I'm blowing out the collar, but you can actually appreciate the beautiful lace details on these. So yeah, I'm actually having fun knitting these, but I'm not gonna finish them anytime soon. I'm a slow sock knitter. I don't know why. Maybe that will change one day. I forgot to mention the needles. I almost always use these Addy Crazy Trio for my sock knitting because they're just so easy. I mean, it's a little like you take the best from the double pointed needles and combine it with the best from the magic loop method, and then you have these. So you have half of your stitches on each needle. Now I'm mid-row, way to go. But you have half of your stitches on each needle, and then you knit with the third one. And because they're so flexible, it's just so easy to work with, and to me it goes by a lot faster. Magic looping isn't really my favorite because all the yanking of the cords. Yeah, and double pointed. Am I the only one who always loses a needle? More accessories. Of course, I'm participating in my own knit along. Anything else would be ridiculous, right? I did create this knit along because I wanted to knit the accessories for winter. So this you have also seen before. This is the Harry Potter scarf, the Ravenclaw scarf that I am knitting for my granddaughter. And I mentioned last episode how she thought that she had spent her birthday money buying a scarf, and then found out that it was just a box of yarn. But Nana has this very special superpower that I can create beautiful things from just thread. So yeah, she gave everything to me, and I am knitting it. I had to figure out the pattern, if you can even call this a pattern, myself, because as her mom said, the bunny may or may not have gotten into the box. If it wasn't the bunny who ate the pattern, I don't know who, and I'm not sure I even want to know who. But I mean, I think I cast on 47 stitches, and I'm just doing a 1-by-1 rip, and then these stripes for every 24 rows. I do 2 rows of the silver, 2 of the blue, and 2 of the silver again. So yeah, this is my car knitting. It's my dyeing yarn knitting as I wait for the color to set, and it's my in-between knitting. and for that, it's perfect. I think I mentioned the yarn last time that I wasn't thrilled about the yarn, that you have some acrylic yarn that are nicer than others, and these are the others. It's just not a very nice yarn, but she is gonna love her scarf, and maybe I get to knit one of the other house scarves for her in a nicer yarn. I'm hoping that. Let me see what's in this one. Ah, yeah. This is my new project, which is this is a crazy project. Look, I decided that I wanted to knit the shifts from Andrea Mowry, this beautiful cowl with slip stitch patterns, and it was so pretty. And I also decided that I wanted it to be in these colors here. Let me just get the fourth one. A black, a gold, a brown, and then this all-in-one color. Because this would go magically with the new winter coat that I just got. A beautiful, beautiful winter coat. And it's not black. Wow. It's dark brown with like little flecks of gold and black. So there you go. But yeah, I thought this shift would just look so pretty in these colors together with my winter coat. So of course I went on Ravelry, as you do, and I bought the pattern and I started knitting. And yeah, it was beautiful. I mean, it's a beautiful slip stitch pattern. It's so simple, but it is so effectful. This is just genius. But yeah, how can I be surprised? And Mowry is a genius. Anyway, as I was knitting, an idea kept running around in my head, like, I wonder if there was an easier way to do this. And I tried to cut out paper and fold it to see if my thoughts would work. And finally I decided, yeah, it'll work. And I ripped back everything I knit, and then I started in my own way, but still following Andrea Mowry's beautiful, beautiful pattern. And I am having so much fun knitting this. This is what I reach for when I just want to relax and enjoy my knitting, and also focus a little more than I necessarily do when I knit some of the simpler stuff. So yeah, this is bringing me so much joy, and I can't wait to see if this will actually turn out to be a real cowl, like shawl-like cowl. But I think it will. Maybe. If not, I'm ripping back and starting over, because Andrea Mowry's instructions there's nothing wrong with them. They will definitely give me exactly the cowl that I'm looking for. I'm just curious to see if my idea actually will work. So there. I have only one more project that I'm working on actively, and that is a sweater. Because accessory along or not, I need a sweater on my needles. Of course I do. I love sweater knitting. I love wearing my sweaters. I love designing sweaters. And this is one of my very, very old designs that I am now rewriting and re-knitting, adding some more sizes. And also I have just given the patterns a little brush up so that they're, I think there's a better balance in the yoke now. I'm just gonna go grab one of the older versions of this one. Hang on a second. And I'm back with an older version of this one. As you can see, the patterns are distributed in a different way. They're also easier to see on this version because when I used hand-dyed yarn, I used it together with a commercially dyed yarn so that they wouldn't melt together too much. But on this one, I really wanted the low contrast, the very subtle contrast and the colors blending into each other to create this beautiful autumn-like loveliness of a sweater. I'm really excited for this one. First, I'm gonna talk about the yarn that I'm using. And then I'm going to give you a long story that you can easily skip if you don't want a story about the history of knitting in Denmark. So the main color is this. This is Malabrigo Sock in the colorway Turner. It's the yarn that I bought when I was in Siena this summer. And this color is just glorious. I must say though that the yarn is probably not going to be my favorite yarn. It has sort of a plasticky feel to it. I hope that it will change with washing and blocking, because as I'm knitting with it, it's not 100% enjoyable, but you know what, then I can just it's a feast for my eyes, if not for my fingers. And I am really excited for this color. It is beautiful. I am holding it together with two of my own colorways, Storbjerg and Guldfugl. Yeah, on my sport weight merino. And I think they go together really well. But as I was trying to find the yarn for this one, I still thought that they needed the one yarn to rule them all, the one that would tie everything together, and I found it. But I can't show it to you because I used down to the last 8 centimeters, but it is the one that is in the patterns here, and also the stripes here on the yoke. So as you can see, it's a variegated yarn with some greens, some purples, some bluish gray tones. It is just so beautiful, and it is so perfect. I really feel that it ties the other yarns together and adds some interest, and I am loving this yarn. It is from a Danish hand dyer. She's just a genius. By Kilag. She does ship internationally. And this is on her Silje base, which is, this is her sock yarn. So it's a merino nylon. And the colorway is called Dimsey. I will link to her shop in the show notes so that you can go and take a look, because she has some beautiful colorways. And this one, Dimsey, absolutely a favorite, especially in this project. So I promised you a history of knitting in Denmark, because this pattern, this design, I am calling my chicken knit. Chicken knit is a direct translation of hønsestrik, which was a very special kind of knitting that was born in the early 70s in Denmark. There's always been knitting, but there has been knitting for many, many years, and everybody used to know how to knit. It was something that you would learn in school and everyone could knit. I think they still learn in school. I think in theory everyone can knit. But yeah, it was, everything was worked flat and then seamed together. There was a lot of purling involved. And everything was knit according to pattern. So you would have these pattern books, or in women's magazines, there would be knitting patterns. And you were supposed to follow your pattern. You were not supposed to like switch things around and, oh, I like that neckline and that pattern and this fit, and then make your own thing. You would find the pattern that you would knit, and then you would knit it, preferably with the suggested yarn. But then in the early 70s, there was a woman named Kirsten Hofmeier. I'm almost sure I'm right. I'm gonna put her name on the screen here. She started this new movement where she took knitting into a political context. So she would free the knitting. She would have people just knit whatever they wanted to knit. And she would incorporate all sorts of political symbols into her knitting. So you would have like the woman sign, and you would have the no thanks to nuclear power, and whatever was on people's mind, they would knit that into their garments. And they would knit like long skirts, and they would knit sweaters, hot pants, hats, and they would knit vests. And the men would knit too, because as soon as knitting became an outlet for your political convictions, then it spread, and everyone started knitting, and everyone started having fun putting together yarns that were not the same. That was unheard of until then, but they would happily mix all sorts of yarns, and they would put together colors that traditionally didn't go together, and they would knit whatever they wanted. And I remember my little brother wearing chicken knit all of his childhood. I also got some chicken knits, but not a lot. I was a fan of the Nordic, old Nordic style with the stars and the fleece pattern. But yeah, my younger brother, he couldn't talk, so he couldn't say no. He was wearing all sorts of chicken knits, and he was so cute in it. And for some reason, you know, things come and go. It ebbs and it flows, and chicken knit more or less was forgotten. But then a couple of years ago, as knitting got a renaissance in Denmark, it started popping up again here and there, and the old books were sold out. And then there was this Swedish woman who started to collect all the material from back then and tell the story about chicken knitting. And she came out with a new book. I even think there's more than one, telling the history of free knitting in Denmark and in Sweden, in Scandinavia, I should say. I have no idea how wide this movement spread out. If it was only in Scandinavia, or if it even reached other countries. If you know anything about it, please let me know in the comments below, because I think it's quite interesting to see an old skill like knitting suddenly being taken out of the housewife context that it was so heavily tied to back then, and into the more creative space where it has stayed since. So please let me know if you know anything about chicken knitting. And yeah, that is the background for the name for this, because you have these different yarns, colors that doesn't necessarily go together well. I mean, in my childhood, you would not have put a golden brown together with a pink. And yes, it has a much more Nordic look than the original chicken knit hat. But that's because it's me. As I said, I didn't have chicken knits. I think I had a vest or something, but nah, I was always more to the traditional classic. I was boring in fashion-wise already back then. But yeah, chicken knit. As soon as I have tested this new pattern, or the tweaks that I made to the pattern, I'm going to send out a call for testers. So yeah, if you're interested in testing this, please look out on my website, and probably I'm also going to put it on Instagram, but I'm so bad on Instagram. I know I should be better, but I should also be better on Ravelry, and there you go. There's always something that you can do better, right? The last knitting related thing that I have to show you is something that you have seen again and again and again. My family sweater. The pattern is being released today. It's gonna be available on Ravelry and in my own web shop. It's gonna be available in English and in Danish. And as you may or may not know, I already have the pattern out for the children's sizes. So if you bought that, it had a code in it, a discount code, so that if you enter the code when buying this one, you will get 50% off. And this one will also have the discount code in it. So if you buy this one and you later decide that you also want to knit the children's sizes, you will get a 50% discount if you use the code at checkout on Ravelry. Or on my website. It's the same price both places. So yeah, finally this is coming out. I cannot thank my many testers enough. They have done an amazing job testing this pattern, making sure that it is readable, knittable, that all the numbers were correct, and thank you so much, guys, for all your help. And that was it for the knitting content this week. As for life in general, I have not had the amount of knitting time that I maybe could have wanted, because one of us in this house, and I'm not going to mention any names, but one of us in this house really wants a big, beautiful, well-tended garden, while the other one is so happy to just let the wildflowers be. Stop calling them weed. I mean, wildflowers sound so much better, right? And just sit and knit instead. But yeah, I have been forced to do a lot of gardening. And Peter, if you're watching, I love you. I love you so much. And I love your garden. It is beautiful. I can see my own blood, sweat, and tears in it. Aside from that, I have been enjoying the changing of the season. The leaves are starting to change. The mornings are getting chillier, but still in the middle of the day, it's warm and there's this beautiful sun coming down on us. I also noticed the days are getting shorter, which is something that I love. I love the way that nature just like goes into itself in fall. It makes me want to go into myself, to rest, to regroup, gather, so that in spring we're ready to burst out with everything and open up again. Yeah, but I really like the dormant period where we're moving inside. We have these long winter evenings. I mean, in Denmark in December, you can start lighting your candles at 4 o'clock. It's pitch black out, and I love it. Yeah, I am such a fall person. Most of all, I'm a Christmas person, but fall comes second. I really love that. I'm also super excited because I'm going to Texas soon. Actually, now US borders are open to Europeans. Finally, I think it's sometime early November they're going to open. But we already planned to go to Dubai for a couple of weeks. Peter has some work to do there, and I am bringing my my 3 nieces and my mom, so we're going to do the touristy thing with them. And then after some weeks in Dubai, we're going to go on to Texas, where we are going to spend 5 weeks, 6 weeks, something like that, with my beautiful, beautiful family. And we're going to be there for the birth of my 4th grandchild, little Lucas. So yeah, super excited for that. And you know what? If you're in the North Texas area, like Dallas, Fort Worth, and you want to meet up, let me know. Last time I made a wonderful new friend, Linda. Hi, Linda. I really hope we get a chance to meet again. We went out yarn shopping together, and that was just lovely. So if you're in the area and you want to meet up, let me know, because then maybe we can all get together in one of the beautiful yarn shops that are in the area. Yeah, but now I am gonna take you on a house tour, because I asked you last time if it was something that you would be interested in. And so many of you were kind enough to say that you would love to see the house. It is not a big house. It is an old rustic, an old stone house that has then been rebuilt. It's more than 1,000 years old, and it has been rebuilt. And as it stands today, it has 3 stories. So on the top floor where we are now, that's our private floor. We have a bathroom, a bedroom, and my craft room / office here. Then the middle floor is the main floor, where we have the living room and the kitchen. And the lower floor, which is level with the ground on one side of the house, and the middle floor is level with the ground on the other side. We're on a mountain. But on the lower level, the kids have their rooms, and the bedrooms and bathrooms, and some storage. And then there's also a huge old garage that we never use. So we're actually in the process of converting that garage into a thigh studio / dining room. Because those two go together so well, right? I'm sure it's going to be pretty. I designed everything. Now Peter just has to build it, and I'm sure it's going to be pretty. One day when we finish, I will definitely take you on a tour down there. But right now, there's not much to see. So I am going to take you around on these 2 upper levels, and I do hope that you will enjoy it. And before I put on the video from the house tour, I will just take the chance to thank you if you stuck it out to the end. Thanks for watching. I am so happy that you want to spend some time with me. I hope your knitting is keeping you happy, calm, content. I hope that you get to enjoy fall or spring, depending on where in the world you are. And I do hope that I will see you again next time. Bye for now. Okay, so it only makes sense to start the tour up here in my craft room / office. Tiny room, but it holds all my stuff. As you can see, I'm putting together colors for a new project. Keep all my needles, my Swift and ball winder, and a few knits on the wall. I tend to wear them more often if they're kept out in the open. A couple of project bags with stuff that I need to start working on. So here's our bedroom. I really need to paint those cabinets. I'm gonna do that next week, maybe, if it rains. Tiny bedroom. The whole floor here is 50 square meters, which is around 450 square feet. So it's not big, but it's sufficient. And look here, my unicorn is fast asleep. He's actually a toy. I'm gonna link to the pattern for him, but I just knit him in a very heavy yarn, so he doubles as a pillow here. And out here we have the landing. Used to be another bathroom here, but we took that down. My half and half wrap is here. My home shrine and all my beach wear. Look, my collection of bikinis, which is ridiculous. Who collects bikinis? But in my defense, many of these are more than 10 years old. It's a small window out to the back garden and our bathroom here. And that's it for the upper floor. Just need to show you, look, the steps down. I changed the original polished black marble into this rough stone. And I also changed the very green tile into this beautiful, beautiful stone. And then our living room with the huge windows out to the mountains and the sky. I love that. And our cozy corner where the whole family can gather. We have an open fireplace that we use in winter. And over here you'll see stuff that I've shown before. The pillows that I knit this summer. Aren't they cozy? And my hap shawl doubling as a lap blanket here. And over here, you will see the pillow that inspired the pattern for the Texas shawl. Look, isn't it pretty? The moth has gotten into it, but I think I did a pretty good job of saving it. On this floor, we also have the kitchen where we're going to go now. That door leads down to the lower level, which is the kids' part of the house. I'm not going to take you there. This is just a small guest bathroom. It's so cute because it's lodged in under the stairs. And the doors are creaking, which I find adorable. Here's the kitchen. to come out here on a cold and dark winter morning and sit down to sip the first cup of tea. I love that. This kitchen was handmade by the man who built the house, and all the wood is from trees that were on the land when he got it. I love this kitchen. And it opens up into my favorite part of the house, the terrace out here. This is where we live all summer, so that we get to enjoy a beautiful view of the lakes. And you will have seen this space before. This is where I sit when I record outdoors.